So grassroots organizing for policy change in the 21st century. So Eric touched a lot on sort of this participatory research model that we use and the crowdsourcing of our information from real communities with real AML problems, and how this project wasn't just to just do some research, it was just literally to try and find solutions for these communities. And my host community was the Alliance for Appalachia and Virginia Tech. So who am I and what do I do? Well, I was born and raised in Southwest Virginia. I'm a diehard Stay Project member and steering committee member. I'm Dolly Parton's #1 fan, although, I don't know, that could be challenged, I'm sure, but in my heart I am. I'm a Sagittarius, and I'm a biscuit expert. That I will hold on to. So what is it that I do? I do stakeholder building, event planning and facilitation, coordinating across state lines, raising the voice of community, and relationship building and network expansion. And sort of how I got to the place that I am now has been being a part of this group called the Stay Project. I did mention I was a proud Stay Project member, and I am because without the Stay Project, I wouldn't have been able to return to Southwest Virginia. I left and went to college like a lot of us are taught to do, to leave the region. And I was invited to this Stay Summer Institute, and it stands for Stay Together Appalachian Youth. And it's a network of young people from across the central Appalachian region that come together to celebrate our Appalachian culture, to learn and teach each other all of the skills and knowledge that we have. And Stay has taught me that we can be young and successful in the mountains, and that we can counter the narrative that is set before us, and that we can stay together and celebrate who we are as mountain people. And since joining Stay, I've become a whole lot better person. I've become a better leader, learner, listener, sibling, facilitator, friend, laugher, organizer, and Appalachian. And so part of my journey of coming back was I had a really big opportunity where I was going to be able to live overseas and study red pandas, and I did that for a little bit, and it was really fun, but I just kept thinking about all the things that I had learned from Stay when I kind of came to this turning point of this decision I had to make. And I knew that if I wanted to, I had the support to set my roots back where they belong. Yeah. And then here's me at the last Stay Summer Institute holding a flip chart, of course. And then there was this great opportunity that came to me by way of my connections with the Stay Project, and it was the Appalachian Transition Fellowship. And this is us on our big, long tour that we went on, and we had a lot of fun. You see a lot of faces that are in this room now. And the Appalachian Transition Fellowship to me meant that I had an opportunity to grow and learn in ways that I never knew were possible, and an opportunity for me to return to the region and do meaningful work. And also to work alongside other young people who are trying to make significant change in their homes. And also, a year ago, I never would have imagined that I could be a part of the transition of an economy. I didn't understand the economy. I never saw my place in doing it other than, spending money or trying to make some money. So I've learned a lot. And so part of my fellowship has been getting to be with the host community of the Alliance for Appalachia. And this has been a pretty unique experience because unlike some of the communities, the Alliance isn't based in one single place. It's a regional network across 4 different states. And the main things that the Alliance for Appalachia believes is that mountain people are the experts of their own lives, that all people should have a seat at the table in determining the future of their communities, that regional collaboration strengthens political power built locally, and that systemic change is absolutely necessary to achieve justice in our region. And sort of the core mission of the Alliance for Appalachia as a network, #1 is to end mountaintop removal coal mining, to stop destructive coal mining technologies, and then to create a just and sustainable Appalachia. And this is what I've been spending most of my time working on. And this is the Alliance at one of our big DC events, Our Water, Our Future. So the way that the Alliance sort of got into this economic transition conversation is really working to address that legacy cost angle of economic transition. Like Eric talked about, you know, abandoned mine lands and other legacy costs of industry are literally impeding economic development or economic opportunities. So the Alliance pursued a listening project in 2013 that ended up in a economic transition summit where they sort of came together and decided what were the areas that we need to work on as the Alliance. And one of those things was to address the legacy costs through researching different funds that are available to come into the region and clean up those legacy costs. So some of those things included the Abandoned Mine Lands Fund, the ARC, or brownfields programs of EPA. And part of that was to build stakeholder interest in communities around these issues, and then to launch a region-wide campaign. Oh, that one got a little down to the bottom. And there was a huge opportunity within the fellowship once we all began, when we realized that the Appalachian Citizens Law Center was also interested in looking into the Abandoned Mine Lands Fund. And they had a lot of policy research expertise. And the Alliance really had a lot of convening capacity in regional networks to sort of do the organizing part of it. So together, we built a stakeholders group between two of our networks called the AML Policy Priorities Group, which right now it has over 194 diverse stakeholders in it. And we've had 2 in-person summits and 5 different regional conference calls to discuss our work. And some of the goals of our project initially were to build Appalachian leader familiarity with AML political processes and being able to navigate the agencies that manage the AML programs, to build an aligned network around a shared federal campaign, to address coal legacy cost issues, to research AML and present the findings that we found, and to build a base of participating groups and make them familiar with the political process to reach the campaign goals. And sort of the arc of how this program has looked over the past year is, again, Eric and I partnered up from the beginning, really, and just started working together to conduct some basic AML research, like when was the fund started, what are the kinds of things that it can fund, and built a basic PowerPoint, and then started to build that AML policy priorities group from our existing networks and then building on that. Then in the fall, we had our first in-person summit where we presented more of our research and still tried to identify from the folks that came, what were our research priorities moving forward? What are the questions that communities have? And then sort of in between that summit and the next, we really started to reach out with a lot of allies around outside the region and within, but specifically with Pennsylvania, to learn the strategy and the history of past AML reauthorizations. So really spent a lot trying to learn from people who've done it before and the people who are experts, and then also how does that apply now. And from there, we launched an educational tour across the states where we went to different communities and presented our research. And finally, we had another spring summit where we really presented what we knew and then focused on strategy building each state and then as a region to how we can move AML funds forward. And finally, what's still left is to release this white paper, which is a huge tool that's going to be useful for a long time. And we've done research that really hasn't been done before in this. So I'm not going to go over all of these, but I just wanted to kind of list out all of the different opportunities, and this isn't even all of them, but sort of a summary of the different activities that we've done throughout the year, the different places we stopped on the AML tour, and sort of who has been a part of our stakeholders group. But so sort of why has our research worked? And why is it different than other research? Well, we've focused on relationship building as a top priority. and knowing that that is what's making this project worth the time and all the energy that we're putting in that. Also, that crowdsourced research questions from real communities with real problems to be solved is really the most effective way you can do research, and it has real solutions for people. And through sharing back the research that we're doing through interactive summits, an education tour, and digestible toolkits. We're asking questions that have never been asked before, and we're challenging state agencies to think in an economic framework, which is not something that they're used to doing. And finally, we're developing real strategies for policy change and are on the national radar for AML, Power Plus, and transition in general. And I just wanted to briefly touch on the individual project that I'm currently still working on. But like I mentioned before, STAY is a huge part of me, and the Appalachian Love Stories project is an opportunity through STAY to share the stories of why we love our region, and I really wanted to bring that economic transition conversation into it to hear from young people. And I just wanted to read this last quote from one of my interviewees, Ivy Brashear. She works at Maysaid. And it says, "These days, I'm drawn to this work and being a part of this movement to help people understand that they do have value and worth. By virtue of wanting to stay and be home, that doesn't make them less worthy of opportunities. I want to make it real to them that they aren't less than or some other America with access to success and happiness." Thank you.